So today we're talking about the snowball effect. How to create a powerful momentum as you step into your business, into the new year, and how to create momentum and leverage that you can really build upon and really accomplish some big and amazing things. I'm going to share with you a quote today by Warren Buffett. I like sharing a quote of the day every day. Today, this one just stuck out to me. Warren Buffett says, "Success is about momentum. Like a snowball, if you keep rolling in the right direction, the quicker you will grow and the more unstoppable you will become. The trick is rolling in the right direction." I'm going to say that one more time. It's by Warren Buffett. Success is about momentum. Like a snowball, if you keep rolling in the right direction, the quicker you will grow and the more unstoppable you will become. The trick is rolling in the right direction. See, I think this is one of the problems that a lot of people have as they're building businesses is I think people will start rolling in the right direction and they'll start to get a little bit of momentum and a little bit of speed going, but then they hit a roadblock, they hit a wall, they hit a dip, something stalls their momentum. So instead of pushing a little harder and continuing rolling in the right direction, they shift gears and go a different direction. And then you're basically starting all over. Also, I can speak from personal experience and from the experience from a lot of my peeps, is that usually when you're trying to roll the proverbial snowball of your business and start gaining momentum, usually the initial period of your business, you're pushing uphill. Right? You don't have a downhill to work with you, right? You're usually pushing that thing uphill. But how many people, I'm just curious for those guys here. Tasha, good morning to you. Keith, what's up, man? Thanks for coming in. Nye, good morning to you as well. How many of y'all have ever made a snowman before? I'm curious. Now, I live in Michigan, y'all, so half of my year is white around here. So I just, live the snowball life around here. But how many of y'all has anybody never made a snowman before? Has anybody never packed a snowball before? I'm just curious because there is a method to it. And it's not as simple as you might think. It all depends on the snow and the conditions and the moisture in the air and all the things. Because if you've got high elevation Colorado snow that's all powdery and it's not moist, you try packing a snowball with that stuff, it's just a bunch of powder. It's not going to go together, right? But the more moisture, the more humidity you have in the air, the wetter the snow is. And so if you want to make a snowman or you want to make a snowball, you've got to have some moisture in the air and you got to have some humidity, because then you got that wet snow, and then I can pack a good one and I can fling it right at Sherry and it'll layer right out. It'll be amazing. So packing a snowball, there's a bit of an art to it. But this is what's funny about making a snowman. Making a snowball is one thing, right? You just pack up some snow and you make yourself a snowball, and you got a snowball and you can do whatever you want with that snowball. But if you want to make a snowman, the key to building a great snowman, good morning, Sherry. The key to building a great snowman that'll actually last is all about that base. Because a snowman has got 3 balls on it, right? So you got that base. And it's all about that base. You got to get that thing right. If you get that thing right, everything else will go pretty well. But thinking about building a business, the problem that a lot of people have with building a business is they want to build it quickly. And I shared another quote recently, by Warren Buffett. It was a reporter that was asking him, "Warren, you're very open about your wealth and about how you created your wealth. You're very open about the strategies that you have employed and the ways that you have gone about generating enormous income and enormous wealth over the years that you've been alive. Your secrets are out there. Everybody can see what you do. So why don't people copy what you do and just become wealthy themselves?" He said the number one reason why people don't copy is because no one wants to get rich slow. And Warren Buffett has never been about get rich quick. It's been about he's building small gains, slow growth, sustainable growth. So the problem that a lot of startup businesses have is they want to get to the results quickly. And so flipping over to a snowball, if you're trying to build a snowman, for example, and you're trying to give yourself a snowball that's going to build some momentum, if you say, "I'm just going to gather up a whole bunch of this snow and I'm just going to try to pack it into a ball," it won't work. It won't last, because you cannot make a solid base for a great snowman simply by just gathering up a whole bunch of snow and trying to pack it into a ball. What you have to do is you have to pack a small snowball first And then you got to make sure that that thing is packed and sound, because that's the core of your business. That's the core of your brand. And then you need to put it on the ground and you need to start rolling it. And you got to roll it and roll it and roll it. Now, I'm gonna give you this analogy, and I'm gonna give you each of these steps today, because you know, the more I got thinking about a snowball and the snowball effect, there's so much about a snowball that relates to business, and there's so much about a snowman that relates to business. So I'm just going to break this thing down, and we're going to go back and forth between the business analogy and the snowball analogy. All right. So the first step to creating a snowball effect in your business is packing your base. Everybody put packing your base in the chat stream. Packing your base is getting your starting point established. It's something small, it's something simple, it's something that you can easily roll. All right, because you will find later down the road that if you're actually going about building a snowman, once you've got this base established in this giant ball, the bigger it gets, the harder it gets to push. And at some point in time, you're going to need some team to come in and help you. I've built some monstrous snowmans before, and I've gotten to a certain level where I had to have my entire family helping me roll this thing because it was too big for me to roll alone. I said it was too big for me to roll alone. You will get to the point in your business where you can't keep rolling that thing down the road or down the hill by yourself. You have got to get some help. That's off topic, but that's important. All right, so packing your base is starting small. When I started I've been in business for almost 7 years? 6.5 years now. And when I started, the base that I packed, the first thing that I packed was this book. I wrote this book. I had been in business for 8 months. This was the first key piece to my business snowball. This thing. The funny thing is I don't consider myself to be a writer, nor did I want to write this book at all, right? So when I wrote that book, stay with me, y'all. And those guys that are listening on the podcast, I'm showing you my first book, Stepping Stones, the first book I ever wrote. And I wrote that book literally out of desperation. I wrote that book out of desperation because I was in a season in my business, and I was at a place in my business where I was stuck. I was frustrated. I couldn't figure out how to get momentum. I couldn't figure out how to acquire consistent gains. I couldn't figure out how to generate revenue on demand. There was so much that I just couldn't figure out. And the reason for that is because I didn't have my base packed. I needed something that I could build off of, something that I could start rolling with, right? And I had gone through months of live streaming. I had gone through all kinds of different marketing tactics and all kinds of different places. And I had gotten variable results here and there, but I didn't have anything that I could roll. I needed something that I could roll. Again, I'm going to share this quote with you by Warren Buffett. Success is about momentum. And I 100% agree with this. You've got to have something that you can build upon, right? So success is about momentum. Like a snowball, if you keep rolling in the right direction, the quicker you will grow and the more unstoppable you will become. The trick is rolling in the right direction. I needed something that aligned with who I am, what I'm about, what I want to be known for, and I could start rolling that thing, all right? So I wrote this. So actually, before I tell you about writing this book, I had gone through several months of live streaming. I had gained some wins here and there, but I didn't have anything consistent that I could build off of. I was desperate. I was frustrated, and this is one of the times that I almost quit because I didn't know what else to do, and I wasn't sure I was going to make it. And my wife, being my wife said to me, "Justin, why don't you write a book?" I'm like, "I'm not going to write a book. I don't want to write a book. I'm not a writer. I don't write. I don't write for a living. I talk for a living. I like talking. I don't like writing. I'm not going to write a book." And she said, "I'm serious. You should write a book." I said, "What the heck am I going to write about? I'm not a writer." And she said, "You go on these videos." Of course, we didn't even really understand what Periscope was or what live video was going to become at this particular time in the world. Periscope was the only live stream platform. Facebook Live did not exist. There was no other live stream networks. We didn't really even know what live streaming literally was. I've been doing it for a couple months. And she's like, "You've been doing this live thing like every day on Periscope, going out and sharing all this content and teaching people and helping people and sharing the things that you know." She's like, why don't you take all of that training and all of those things that you're sharing and just put it in a book form? Because you might have people that aren't going to sit and watch every one of your videos, but if they bought a book that had all of your video content in it, they'd probably read it. I'm like, I should write a book. But I didn't realize at the time that was the start of my base. It was the start of my snowball. So then I'm like, all right, let me take what I know. Let me take all the things that I've learned and let me pack it into something that I can start rolling with, y'all. And so I'm like, I'm going to write this book. Now, the problem is that I'm not a writer. I didn't think I was a writer. I actually am a writer, but I didn't think I was a writer. I'm like, all right. So I'm like, I know for me to write this book, and this is going to confirm, I see a couple of y'all tell me this is confirmation. I'm loving that this is confirmation for you. This is something else that's going to be confirmation for you, all right? I knew that there was no way I was going to be able to effectively and quickly write a book in the same environment and schedule that I was currently operating in, because I was going to have to do something I had never done before. I was going to have to challenge myself in a different way, and I knew I couldn't do that operating in the same place, same level, with the same distractions, the same noise, same stuff, right? So I'm like, so it wasn't a matter of, all right, this book is a good idea, I need to write this book because that'll give me some momentum, it'll give me some leverage. I need to break away. So I took 2 weeks off of everything. I cleared my schedule. I didn't do any broadcasts. I actually left my house, and my grandfather has a cabin on 40 acres in the woods in northern Michigan where there's no TV and no Wi-Fi, no nothing. And I'm like, I'm going to the cabin. I'm gonna go for 2 weeks, and I'm gonna write. And Courtney's going with me. And so Courtney and I went away, and we went to this cabin for 2 weeks. I wrote this book in 12 days. It took me 12 days. I wrote it in 12 days, cover to cover. And the funny thing is, because I didn't think I was a writer and because I didn't know how to write a book at the time, I'm like, I'm going to start with what I know. So I spent day one on the cover. I spent my entire first day designing the cover. All right. So I designed the cover, and then I laid out my outline, and then I got to writing that book, and I wrote that entire book in 12 days. Now, I'm going to go to step 2 on the snowball effect, right? So step 1 was packing your base. Packing your base is starting out with something small that you can build upon, all right? Something that's easy to roll. Again, as I said, as this gets bigger, it's going to get harder to roll. But this is something you can roll on your own. It doesn't require anybody else's help or effort. It's your thing. You created it, and you can build upon it, all right? Packing your base. Step 2 is starter growth and small gains. That's what happens with your base. And when you're building a snowman, it's the same thing. You pack a base, and then you start rolling. And as you start rolling that, because you started out with something small, as you roll it, it's only going to have small gains. All right, again, back to literally building a snowman. All right, so when you have a small snowball that you've packed and you start rolling it, because that small thing doesn't have a lot of weight to it, it's not going to grab a lot of snow as you roll it. But when you got a snowball like 3 foot in diameter, that's heavy, that's got weight, it's got some background, it's got some past behind it. That thing is sound and big. Because that thing is so heavy, everywhere you roll that, it grabs new gains and makes huge gains because of its weight and because of its size. When you're small, the gains are going to be small, okay? So your step 2 on creating a snowball effect in your business is recognize that when you start out with a small base, you're going to have small gains. That's okay. That's a part of the process. So I wrote this book, went out in 12 days. I was desperate for revenue. I was desperate for growth. I was desperate for consistency and increase. And I was just trying to survive every single day that I was going through this process. I wrote this book, and I got this book done. I'm like, all right, cool. I don't know what to do with this thing. I'm just gonna tell my people that I've got it available. I had no idea how to publish a book. I didn't know anything. All I knew was I've got this book. I've written it. It's great. And so I printed it in a PDF, or I made it available in a PDF form, and Some of y'all have heard this story before. I'm not going to go super into detail about it, but it's I'm telling you, work with what you got, y'all. I wanted to go and do a live video, and I wanted to like talk about it. I want to be like, guys, I've written a book. I'm so excited about it, and I wanted to actually physically, you know, hold it. But I didn't have a physical book. All I had was a digital document. So what I did was I created this cover. I bought some gloss or some gloss paper, high gloss paper that you can run, like photo paper that can run through my printer. I printed this cover out on a piece of photo paper. I went to my children's room and I found a coloring book that was the same size as a regular 8.5 by 11 book. I got a glue stick and I stuck my printed graphic of my book on the front of a Dora the Explorer coloring book. All right? And then I'm going to go do a live about this because I want to tell people that I've written a book. Starter growth, small gains. You can also add in there a little bit of crazy and creative. This is a true story. All right, it's true story. I didn't have a book. I couldn't show this online, right? So, what I did is I had a book. I knew I had something that I could sell, and I knew people would be excited about it, but I had to show it. So I had a Dora the Explorer coloring book that was 8.5 by 11. I printed out my book cover. I glue sticked it to the front of the book, and I went live on Periscope. And those guys may have been there at that point in time when I announced it. And I came out and I was so excited. And I was holding the book like this because I couldn't turn it. Because if I turned it, you'd see a purple edge that said Dora the Explorer. And you would see that it was just a coloring book. So I came out on live and I was holding the book like this. So guys, I'm so excited. I have just written a book called Stepping Stones. This is an entrepreneur's guide and workbook. It's all my best content. Would love for you to grab it. Guys, go to my website, blah, blah, blah. You can check it out. Actually, I didn't have a website at the time. I said, if you're interested in getting a hold of this book, just message me and I'll hook you up with the details on how to get a hold of it. And that was it. And I hung up the broadcast. And my wife's like, what is that? And I'm like, check that out. And she's like, oh, no, you didn't. I said, oh, yeah. Dora has been revitalized. I said, I completely revitalized Dora. And I went out there, so I started with a coloring book. But this is what happened. Again, starter growth, small gains. I didn't have a published book. I'm telling you this for a reason, y'all. I'm telling you this because I have always started where I was and worked with what I had. And I never, ever made excuses for the things that I had not yet acquired. I'm like, this is where I'm at. This is what I've got. This is what I can do. And I'm going to do my very best with what I've got right now. And what I had right there was some information. I didn't have a physical book. So I'm like, I am going to sell this book. And so I went out and I broadcast about it. People are like, I want the book, Justin. How do I get the book? I'm like, currently, all I have is a PDF version of it, but I can send you that digital. Actually, I didn't say PDF. I said, all I have is the digital version of it, but I can give you that direct download and I sold this PDF. I sold a PDF written copy of this book for $19.95. $20. That's it. I'm like, if you want a copy of the book, it's $20. Send me an email. People paid me through PayPal, and I emailed them the PDF, and they downloaded it, and they got through it. That's how I sold this book. I sold, I can't remember exactly, but it was roughly over 30 copies. It was about 30, 35 copies of the digital PDF version. Okay? Within like 2 days. Now, that was a decent increase for me at the time. Wasn't going to save my life. It wasn't, I didn't get rich off of selling a PDF. But it was starter growth. It was small gains. All right. And we're talking about the making of momentum, the snowball effect. Step 3. I already put step 3 in the chat stream, so I'm going to make sure you're paying attention to me this morning. And good morning to you. Someone just came in. I saw you. Good morning to all you. Cindy, I see you. Mel, good morning. Appreciate you. Y'all are awesome. All right. Cheers, y'all. Good morning to you. Okay. Number 1's packing your base. Number 2, starter growth, small gains. Step 3 is shaping and refining. Just like building a snowball, if you want to build a solid base on a snowman, you got to start with a small base. You roll it till you get some gains, and then what happens? If you take a snowball and you start rolling all in one direction, you're going to get a snowball that's going to start looking like a cylinder rather than a ball. All right? So if you start rolling, you're going to have a cylinder shape, and that's not what you want. Because if you roll too long in one direction, it's going to start to get off shape. You're off your base a bit. All right. So after a certain amount of gains, you've got to stop, and then you got to look at what you've got, and then you need to shape it. So you shape the corners, you cut off the corners of it, you pack down the gains that you've gotten, and you get yourself a bigger base to work with. Now I've got a packed, nice base. I've trimmed off the fat, I've trimmed off the noise, and now I've got something a little bit bigger that I can roll. And now I'm probably going to take this slightly and roll in a different direction. And I'm going to get myself a little bit more in that direction. So that's where I was with this book. I had starter gains, I made some revenue, I had people show me that they had some interest, and I'm like, all right, how do I publish a book? So I remember at the time I had a membership to Planet Fitness. I had a membership to Planet Fitness, and I'm like, and Courtney and I were going to the gym every morning, and I would run on the treadmill. Actually, this is the elliptical. I would get on the elliptical for an hour. And so we would get there, I'd get on the elliptical, and I'm like, how do you self-publish a book? So I got up on my elliptical with my ear pods in, and I went on YouTube and said how to self-publish a book, and I swiped through until I found a video that looked good, and the video that I found happened to be a tutorial for CreateSpace, which is now Amazon Publishing. And so I found a tutorial on CreateSpace. I'm like, bam, let's watch this. And I sat there on my elliptical, and I watched a CreateSpace tutorial video, and by the time I was done sweating my face off on the elliptical, I learned how to turn my coloring book into an actual real book. And I'm like, I can do this today. I can do this today. I could see a coloring book in my future. What a good idea, Sherry. That's a fabulous idea. I'm like, I'm gonna do this today. I got off, the thing, and Courtney's like, what's up? And I'm like, I just friggin' learned how to publish a book. We're gonna go home. And so we went home, and I went right on CreateSpace, and I published my book that day, cover the whole deal, and I ordered myself a proof. Now all the people, the 30 plus people that bought that PDF were asking me, Justin, are you going to get a physical copy? I'm like, I'm working on that. I'll let you know as soon as that happens. I ordered my proof. I got my proof in 5 days. I remember those guys. How many of y'all have written a book? Put me in the chat room if you've written a book before. I remember ordering my proof, where they send you a proof in the mail just to make sure that it all looks like the way you want it to look. And I remember getting my proof in the mail. And that thing, I remember getting this thing in the mail, and I was like, man, I did that. Like, look at that thing. That's a real book. I remember I bought copies for everyone in my family and sent them to them. I was just so excited. I mean, it's an amazing thing, isn't it? It's crazy. When you get that first proof in the mail, I think there's power in that too, y'all. Experiencing a win. Like just take a minute to realize what you've done, where you've come, and how you've grown, and the things you've accomplished. And I'm like, I wrote this thing. See my logo? That's one of my original logos. It's okay. This photo is terrible. This photo, y'all, that photo was taken in my dining room under the dining room light. I didn't have a suit at the time. That photo was taken in the dining room by my wife with a cell phone camera. You can see if you really look at it real close, the cropping on it is not real good. I wasn't very good at Photoshop at the time. It's all yellowish because of dining room lights are yellow. I worked with what I had. I started where I was. I did my best with where I was. So I went and I published this book. So it was literally almost to the day 2 weeks after I sold the PDF. It was after I sold the PDF, and 2 weeks later I had the physical copy available. And once I had the physical copy available, I went on live with the actual physical copy. I'm like, guys, I'm so excited to let you guys know that my physical copy is now available. You can go on Amazon, look up Justin Cappon, you can buy it there. Stepping Stones, it's available. And so from there, now let's go into, so I'm gone through my steps. So we got number 1, packing your base. Number 2, starter growth, small gains. Number 3, shaping and refining, trimming the fat, reframing, Step 4 is then you got intermediate growth and greater gains, because now you've got a bigger ball that you're rolling. That thing has had some work, it's had some growth, it's experienced some gains, you've shaped it, you've refined it, and now you're going to start rolling again. And now you're going to experience, because of the weight, remember the weight I said, the bigger it gets, the heavier it gets, the more it's going to pick up as it goes along. It's going to start making greater gains. And so I came out with a revision. Here's my book, now available. You guys can go buy this. The same, I think probably, I don't know if I could say everyone, but I'm going to say probably 90% of the people that bought the PDF went right on Amazon and bought the physical copy, because everybody wanted the physical copy. So all those people that went and bought the physical copy. So then I've got this book out there and I'm like, all right, now what do I need to do? Then right around that time was when digital academies were becoming tremendously popular. I'm like, I need to make an academy. I'm like, well, I didn't know how to write a book, and I did that, so I need to create an academy. How the heck do I create an academy? I need to see inside one. I need to see what it looks like. So I went out and bought a course from another person I looked up to, something that I actually wanted to learn. It was actually Zach Spuckler's Facebook Academy. I went to Zach Spuckler's Academy and bought his academy and learned Facebook ads at the time, but also learned the inner workings of an academy and what that looked like. I'm like, all right, I can make this. I'm going to create an academy. So I created my first academy. It was called Ignite Your Personal Brand. Many of y'all bought it. And I went through the process, built it, created it. I built that academy, created that academy, and launched it. My academy, Renee, and good morning to you, Renee. An academy is basically an online course. It's basically where you take information, like all the information that I have in this book, and you create videos of those trainings. It'd be like I could make a series of these videos right here teaching specific subjects, and I pack all that material, put it in an online course, and then sell the online course. Online courses are very powerful and very popular. So I created my online course. It was called Ignite Your Personal Brand. I created the course in 2 weeks, right after I launched that book, and I figured out how to build it on the host platform, which was Teachable at the time, and I launched that course. I marketed it, I believe, for about a week. I launched that first course almost 1 month to the day after I launched this book. Momentum, y'all. This is another thing that I just want to park here for a second. A lot of entrepreneurs will do something right and get something out there, and it'll give you some small gains. The problem is, if your perspective is off and you don't realize where you are in the snowball process, people can get frustrated or beat up with small gains, because this is the problem. A lot of people start a business, they pack that base and they start rolling it thinking they're going to have a giant snowball within a short amount of time. That's not going to happen. It needs some momentum. It needs some consistency. It needs some push behind it, right? So if you don't understand that you are packing your base and that you are going to start out with starter growth and small gains, and if you're expecting huge gains right away, you're going to be frustrated. And people will get small gains, but then they'll get frustrated. Well, I only made a couple $100. You just made a couple $100. I took what was in my head, wrote it in this thing, and put it out there, and people were like, I want that, and they bought it. And I'm like, okay, y'all like what I'm doing? You like what I'm doing? I'll do some more of it. So I'm like, you like the book? I'm going to create a course. So I created a course, Ignite Your Personal Brand. It was a branding course on how to start up a business and get your branding done right. And I created this course. I went out there. I started, my price on that course was $290. Was it $297? I think it was $297. No, it was regularly $297. I sold it for $197. I launched that thing. So with my book, again, to remind you, I made like $500-$600 off the PDF of this thing. And then I had all those same people went and bought the PDF. I didn't bank as much off the physical copy, simply because there's costs involved with Amazon. So you only make a certain portion of profit with each book. But it gave me something to build on. It was momentum, right? So I sold this academy, $197. I launched that thing, threw that out there, and I made $3,000 in one day. That was life-changing to me at the time. That was huge. I remember going through the creation of this thing and the marketing of it and putting it out there and selling that thing and watching the transactions come in of all the people that were buying it, and I started bawling. I just remember I was just bawling. I was a mess. I was a hot mess. Because it wasn't just a matter of the revenue that we so desperately needed, but it was confirmation to me. It was like, I think I'm going to make it. I think I'm actually going to make it. And I can actually do this. I made $3,000 in one day. And that to me was like, okay, I've got something here. I'm going to roll with this. I need to create another one. So momentum, again, intermediate growth, greater gains. I had rolled that ball some more. Now I need to stop. Step 5. So we've gone through step 1, packing your base. Step 2, starter growth, small gains. Step 3, shaping, refining, what you've gotten. Step 4, intermediate growth. You start rolling again. You start getting some greater gains. I made $3,000 off a new product. Now I need to stop. Step 5 is shaping and refining again, because now I need to shape and refine some more. Where am I taking this business? What am I doing with this? How am I going to continue to build off of this? I'm like, I've got people that want these academies. I'm going to create more. So I launched that academy. That first one was a tremendous success. I created 2 more academies over the course of the next about month and a half. I created a small course called Put the Sizzle in Your Live Streams. Many of y'all bought it. It was $97. Taught you how to be a great periscoper at the time. And then I created another one called Mission Monetize. Mission Monetize was my course on how to monetize your mind. I eventually changed the name from Mission Monetize to Monetize Your Mind. And 2 more courses over the course of 6 weeks, and continue putting out new products. Again, intermediate growth, greater gains. Yes, Sherry, I get people asking about my academies. The thing with each of these academies is that because the world evolves the way they do, the information becomes outdated. So, my first academy, Ignite Your Personal Brand, covered so much content on social the way it was, Facebook business the way it was, Periscope the way it was. There's just so much there. And even with Mission Monetize, because I was green in the business, I didn't create each of those academies to be able to be longevity content, meaning content that can stand the test of time no matter what changes. I put too much timely seasonal information in them that was relevant to that time in that season, and as the years moved on, they became outdated, so I stopped selling them. And I've adapted that content into different programs and such, but that's why I don't have those available anymore. Good question though. So shaping and refining. So I created these different academies. I taught people how to be broadcasters, taught people how to monetize their mind. That was all through the year 2016. Again, shaping, refining, step number 5. And then number 6. I got 7 steps for you today. Number 6 is significant growth, massive gains. All right. Now everything that I'm giving you this morning is in my first full year of business. I started my business in 2015. I actually started June 2015. It's a good point. Thank you, Sherry. I've had to correct references to technology in my academy. I was too green at the time to know that. So, a good point to bring this up. If you're writing a book, you're creating courses, think about the content that you're putting in there and ask yourself what you need to say and not say, or write and not write, so that content and that program can stand the test of time despite all the changes that happen in the social environment and in the world in general. All right. And I know a lot of people that have created highly successful courses that have had to revise them year after year after year because those are their babies. So just be aware of that type of stuff as you're creating. So step 6, significant growth, massive gains. All right, all of this is in my first full year of business. I started my business June 2015. This is in all through the year 2016, okay? So the summer that I was creating these courses was at about my 1-year mark, all right? All of that led me up to the fall, which was November. And many of y'all have heard this story before. It was November, and I was restless. And I felt like there was something else I needed to be doing, and I didn't know what that was. And I shared with you before that I didn't want to be ungrateful, because throughout those past several months, Courtney had given me the idea to write a book. I wrote it, sold it, it was successful. That gave me the idea to create an academy. I launched it, it was highly successful. 2 more academies, both highly successful. I had acquired clients through that year. I had acquired a lot of different things through that year. So a lot of good stuff happened to me that year. But I'll tell you this, it wasn't huge, but it was enough. It was enough to keep me going. It was enough to keep me alive. But I was looking for something that I could really expand upon, you know? And so I was restless. I'll tell you this, y'all, if you're taking notes, write this down. Pay attention to your restlessness, because oftentimes that's God's way of redirecting you. Pay attention to your restlessness, because oftentimes that's God's way of redirecting you. The Lord was trying to redirect me. I was in a shaping and refining season. I was on step 5. I was shaping and I was refining what I had created. I had intermediate gains. I had intermediate growth, and I was ready for a big shift in a different direction. And I was ready for massive gains. And where am I going? I don't know what I'm doing. I was restless. And so I was sharing this with Courtney. I'm like, I just feel restless. And I don't want to be ungrateful, because I'm so grateful for everything that the Lord has taken us through this year and everything we've done. But I just feel restless, like there's something else I need to be doing, and I don't know what that is. And Courtney, being Courtney, she's like, well, why don't we just pray about it? And I'm like, well, imagine that. We should pray about it. Let's pray about it. So I remember I sat down with Courtney. I held her hand. We sat down at the dining room table. And I just poured my heart out to the Lord. I said, Lord, I'm so thankful for the business that I have, and for the growth that we experienced, and for the steps that we've taken this year, for the journey you've got me on. I'm so thankful. I don't want to be ungrateful, but I just feel like there's something else I need to be doing. And I need you to show that to me, because I don't know what that is. I just need clarity on what that is. And I'm just going to get quiet with you. I'm going to wait. And we just got quiet, and we were holding hands at the table, and it didn't take long. I don't remember how long it took, but it didn't take long. And I remember it was like the Lord came down and just whispered in my ear, said, inner circle. And it was like so clear to me, and I'd never thought of that word before, and I didn't even really know what it was. He said, inner circle. And I remember I let go of Courtney's hand, and I said, I need to do an inner circle. And she's like, okay, what's an inner circle? I'm like, it's like a group. It's like a group of people. It's a group of people that I work with closer than anybody else. It's my tribe. It's my people. I need to create an inner circle. And she's like, okay, well, what's that look like? I said, I don't know, but I'm going to go tell Periscope. And I got up and I ran off into my office. She's like, wait, what are you doing? I said, I'm going to go tell Periscope. And I went on Periscope. I went live. So y'all, listen, I'm so excited. I just got an idea. Just got a download from the Lord. Sherry talks about her downloads from the Lord all the time. I got a download from the Lord. I am going to create a JC Pro VIP inner circle. This is going to be a close-knit group of entrepreneurs that I'm going to work with personally to help them build their lives and their businesses in a community. More details to come. If you're interested, message me, because I didn't have funnels and I didn't have email capture and I didn't have any of that stuff at the time. I'm telling you all of that because in the greatest seasons of my momentum and the greatest seasons of my growth, I did not have flashy technology to back up my ideas. I just had ideas and I went out and rolled with them. And so I'm like, if you're interested, shoot me an email, justincapponpro@gmail.com. I'll get you plugged in on the communication. And I am going to launch this on Black Friday. This was November, the first weekend of November 2016. I had like 4 weeks till Black Friday. And I'm like, I'm launching on Black Friday. More details to come. See you later. Hung it up. And I was so excited. And Courtney's like, what are you doing? I'm like, I am going. She's like, did you go announce that on Periscope? I said, yeah. She's like, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. But I'm going to launch it on Black Friday. And it's going to be amazing. And she's like, okay. Okay. So I tell you this. Shaping and refining. I'm like, all right. I don't know anything about doing an inner circle. But I know what? I'm good at people. I'm good at my people. They've invested in my book. They've bought my courses. They've followed me on Periscope. I had a great tribe on Periscope, and these people want more of me if I can give them more. So I'm going to give them a way to access me at a higher level. So I'm just going to create this group. I'm like, I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm going to launch on Black Friday. I'm going to start the group on January 1st, and all I'm going to worry about is the first month. I'm just going to worry about the first month. This is going to be a membership for a year. They can pay by month or they can pay for the year, and I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to do this group, and I'm going to figure it out. And I'm like, what do I sell that for? What do I sell a group for? I've sold a book for, $25. I sold a course for $197. My live stream course was $97. Mission Monetized was $247. What do I sell a group for? And the Lord just kept impressing on me, $497. $497. $500 basically. That was super scary to me. Like, $500? Will people really pay $500 to basically be in a Facebook group with me? I'm like, am I worth that? These are the questions that I ask myself. And I'm telling you this because there's some of y'all that are there right now today. Some of y'all have an idea. Some of you guys are trying to do things and you're asking yourself, am I worth that? And I wrestled with the same thing. I'm like, am I worth that? Will people pay that? Yes. 1000% yes, you are worth that. People will pay that. And I will tell you this, y'all, I had so many questions and I had so many fears and I had so many inhibitions, but I leaned into the Lord and I allowed him. I showed him, Lord, I don't know what I'm doing, but I trust you. I trust what you're doing. So I am going to just lean into this and I'm going to promote it. I'm going to communicate it as best as I can. I'm going to tell people my vision for what I believe this group can be. I didn't try to sell it. I did not try to sell that group. I just had a belief in my ability to serve people. I knew that I could serve people. I'm like, this is what I'm going to do. If you want to be a part of this group, this is what it's going to look like. This is what we're going to accomplish. What my plans are for the group. The price for the group is $497, and I'm going to start out with 20 people max. And I'm going to roll this thing out. And I rolled it out on Black Friday. Now, this was another crazy thing that happened in this season was my grandma passed away. I think it was like 3 days before Thanksgiving. 3 or 4 days before Thanksgiving. Unexpected. It's my mom's mom. Grandma Miller was amazing. She was a heartbeat of our family. It was unexpected. She had a stroke. Grandma passed away like 3 days before Thanksgiving. She passed away 3 days before Thanksgiving, which obviously completely disrupted and flipped the holiday on its head. But her funeral was scheduled for Black Friday. On Black Friday. And I'm like, I am in the middle of... this is my first ever Black Friday launch. Now, many of y'all, I just took you through your first ever Black Friday launch. So you know what that's looked like. So I was doing my first ever Black Friday launch. I didn't have anybody helping me. I had no idea what the heck I was doing. And now I got to come out and I got to promote this inner circle and then go to a funeral. And so I was an emotional wreck. I was scared to death. Honestly, my biggest fear, y'all, can I just share my fear with you? My biggest fear was not that I wouldn't sell any. My biggest fear was not that I wouldn't sell any. My biggest fear was I would sell like 1 or 2. And then what am I going to do? What am I going to do if only 1 or 2 people believe in me and buy this thing? And then I've got a group that's supposed to have 20 people in it and I only sell 1 or 2. Then what do I do? But I'm like, you know what? I'm not in control of this. The Lord gave me this idea and I'm going to trust him. And if I only sell 1, then I'm going to serve that one person at the highest level. And they're going to be on the receiving end of the best that I've ever offered. And if I only get 1, that means the Lord is telling me that I'm only ready to serve 1. And that's fine. And I've resolved that in my spirit, that I would be okay with that. I think that's necessary because I have gone through that before with different things, launching things, and they didn't work. I've also launched stuff that only sold 1 or 2, and I served those people to the best of my ability. And I can tell you, it's happened to me 2 different occasions where I launched something and a very small level of people bought it, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to serve them well. And when I got through the season with those people, I realized they were the only ones for a reason. One particular occasion was because one of the people that I was serving needed my undivided attention. The other season was I learned that I was not ready to serve at a higher level. But that's a different story for a different day. But this particular season, I was like, I'm going to come out here, I'm going to trust the Lord, and I'm going to launch this thing. I launched my inner circle on Black Friday, same day as Grandma's funeral. I went out and did a live broadcast about it. I did my morning broadcast. As soon as I hung up my broadcast, I hung it up. Of Courtney and I jumped in the car. It was a snowstorm outside, and we had to drive 2 hours to a funeral. We went 2 hours to the funeral. As we were driving, and the entire time we were at the funeral, our phones were getting notification. 497, 497, 497, 497. It was probably the most the most significant emotional roller coaster I've ever been on in my life, because I'm sitting at my grandma's funeral. My entire family is emotionally distraught, and both of Courtney's and I's phones were plugged into my PayPal account. So all these people that were buying the Inner Circle, our phones were binging, on silent. I'm looking. There's another one. We look at each other. There's another one. When the funeral's over, we're driving home. There's another one. There's another one. I sold out in 3 days. $10,000. Like that. Just 500 times 20 is $10,000. Made $10,000. Significant growth, massive gains. And I realized, okay, I'm getting to a different level here. This is a different level. Now I'm gonna wrap this up by telling you this. The Inner Circle that I sold for $497 is now $5,000. If you want to get in my Inner Circle now, it's $5,000 a year or $500 a month. A year after I sold that Inner Circle, my next Black Friday launch was a $3,000 branding package. That was 2017. 2018, I sold a $5,000 package. 2019, I sold a $10,000 mastermind available to 10 people and sold it out in 7 days. Massive growth, massive gains. But this is something I want you to understand. Going back to the very beginning of where we started today, that small base, all right? The people, literally every single person that bought that $10,000 mastermind from me had bought branding package before that. I think all but like 2 of them had been in my Inner Circle from the very beginning. The first people that joined the Inner Circle were the ones that bought my academies. The ones that bought the academies were the ones that bought the book. Progression. You build upon these things. Don't be afraid of small growth, because you can take someone who buys a book from you for $25 and sell them a $10,000 mastermind a couple years later if you stay with them and you serve them and you realize that this is the season that you're in. You might be in small growth, small gain season. That's okay. It doesn't mean that you are not rapidly approaching intermediate growth or significant growth. It's all a matter of how well you maintain that momentum and continue to build upon it. Every single person that has ever bought anything significant from me has almost always bought something smaller from me leading up to it. The ones that bought my book on day one were the ones that started with me on Periscope in February 2016 and were watching my lives every single day. They believed in me. I sowed into them. I poured into that. I wholeheartedly believe, y'all, that you need to be investing in your audience long before you can expect them to invest in you. I invested in my audience every single day. I still do this. That's why I still show up live and do live every single day. It's because my mission is to invest in people and to sow into people and to help people, because I know that as I'm packing my base with someone today, because this is what happens. As your business gets bigger, you're going to start realizing that you have so many opportunities to pack a new base with another group of people, or pack a new base with one new individual. And I'm going to start working on small gains with that person and small gains with this person. This person's more at intermediate gains, and I can start working on momentum with them. This person's ready for significant gains. I've been polishing them. I've been refining a relationship. I've been building with them, and they're going to be ready to go to a higher level with me at some point in time. The making of momentum can expand you to actually creating momentum in a variety of different areas, in a variety of different ways, with every single person that you serve. But I believe wholeheartedly that it starts out small and simple, with a very clear vision and a very clear method of how you want to go about building that base that you're going to build your business on. And eventually, again, you're going to get to the point where that snowball is too big for you to roll by yourself. And that's when you got to realize that you need some help. And I got there shortly after my Inner Circle. I realized that I had too much going on to try to do this on my own. And that's when I realized I needed a support team. I needed a mentor at the time. You know, there's a lot of things that I had to get involved with, but that piece, those steps, and then your last step, number 7, is set and repeat. Because to build a snowman, you need 3 balls, right? So all we've just talked about today is that base. But once you get that method down, I'll tell you this, once you get your method and you learn how to go about building your way, your brand, your style, your message, then you realize, all right, now I got to build another one, but that next one's going to come way easier because I've learned the process. I've learned how to do it. And then you build your next one, and then you place it, and then you build another one, and then you place it, and then you've got a snowman. You're like, snowmans are fun. Let me make another one. I got snowman all over my yard. But that's the making of momentum, y'all. That's the snowball effect. I hope you guys enjoyed that one this morning. I appreciate y'all. I know 54 minutes of your time is so valuable, so I appreciate your time this morning. Hopefully I've given you confirmation today for some of you, clarity for others. I believe in y'all. Listen, I believe in what you're doing. As Rachel just said on here, embrace the process. I'll tell you this, y'all. People are looking for the magic pill. What's the magic pill, Justin? How do I get to success quicker? How do I rise to the top quicker? The magic pill is the process. You've got to embrace your process. And this is why you might be going at this speed and at this level while someone over here might be rising up quickly. It doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong and that they're better than you. That's just the journey that they're on. And do not compare your chapter 1 to their chapter 20. You have no idea what they've gone through and no idea how much momentum they've been working to acquire to get them to that level. Focus on you, on your journey, and realize that this is your season. The Lord has you there for a reason. He wants to show you something, equip you with something, prepare you for something, and you have to go through that season to be ready for your next. Your magic pill is your process. You've got to go through your process. I had to go through my process, and I'll tell you this, y'all, the business that I'm praying for today, the business that I have today is a business that I was praying for 5 years ago. But if the Lord had handed me this business today, 5 years ago, I'd have ran it straight into the dirt because I wasn't ready for it. I wasn't ready. There's so much that I had to learn. There's so much that I had to refine. There's so much that had to happen in me to be ready to handle the volume of the business that I have now. Your season is necessary, whatever your season is, y'all, all right? Guys, have a beautiful day. Be intentional with your time. Be intentional with your talent. Get about your day. Cheers and good morning to you, and I will see you guys all around the web, all right? Take care and God bless y'all.